get drenched or much worse. So we'll give everybody a second. Hi, Carol and Dawn. Hey, Angela. Good morning. I just was watching the end of the US France basketball, and France won, so I was quite excited about that. Yes, I will always root for France, sorry. So we are, oh, almond croissants on the menu. Oh, yum. I actually was talking to somebody the other day about our love of French pastries. And she always will find the pastry that has the raisins in it, kind of looks like a snail. I can't remember what they're called. She will always find those. And I said, sometimes I like a almond croissant, but sometimes they're just too sweet. Sometimes they make them a little too sweet, but I do love them. I would love one of those right now. So we will go ahead and get started. We are in front of the beautiful Hotel Lutecia. This is the stunning hotel, just reopened actually a few years ago after a massive renovation. But it is absolutely gorgeous. We're on the Boulevard Raspail, and my notes that I will send you afterwards will have the addresses of these places and some notes on it, so that in case you want to go there, maybe you want to stay there, maybe you have an extra $1,000 burning a hole in your pocket per night to stay. It's a little on the expensive side, but you can still go in for free. But in 1910, it was decided that they were going to build this hotel, and it was actually spearheaded by Marguerite Boussicot, who was actually from the Bon Marche, which we will walk past in a bit too. She decided that they needed a store or a hotel that would accommodate their different vendors and their clients. So they were actually the ones behind getting this lovely hotel built. It was designed by architects Louis-Charles Boileau and Henri Tozin in the Art Nouveau style, as you could tell from all of those beautiful flourishes there. Above the doors on the other side, you have some of the wonderful marquise, which is basically where the English marquise comes from. The beautiful iron overhangs. This hotel inside of it is absolutely stunning. It does have quite the story to tell. You could tell, look at how beautiful that is. Beautiful pictures, Kate. It actually, during World War II, sadly, it was on June 15th, 1940, that the German intelligence moved in here. They moved in very fast, very quickly. Some fast-thinking workers decided to hide most of the really good wine in a tunnel and close it up so that they couldn't drink the wine. That's a story that you hear many times of places. The Tour d'Argent did that. Quite a few places in Paris did that. They were very quick thinking. But they moved in here. They were most of the officers. There's one of those beautiful overhangs. Most of the officers here that stayed here were all from aristocratic backgrounds. And so they wanted to be staying in the lap of luxury and have the finest china and silver and everything else. There's a plaque right there that alludes to another time during World War II. At the end of it, after the liberation of Paris, on specifically April 26, 1945, I guess another thing that happened, I'm always surprised to find things that happened on my birthday. This one is a good one and a bad one, I guess. But it was actually the site of where they decided that the poor people that had been taken from France and shipped over to Germany to be interred in concentration camps, when they were the lucky few that survived and made it back to Paris, all came through the Hotel Lutecia. They had set up office here that they would have members of medical teams that would be here. And so these poor people, after, living in horrid conditions, were brought back to this beautiful hotel. They would be staying here for 6 or 7 days, where they would be able to actually shower, get some clothes, actually stay in a bed. And so it was basically from one extreme to the other. And they were able to come through here. They had more than 200,000 people actually were processed through here between April and August of 1945. Every single day, people would show up here with pictures of their loved ones, looking for them to see if there was any news of them, if they were reported that they were found and on their way back. They would also come here to ask the people, the prisoners that had returned, if you show them pictures, to see if anybody knew anything about them, so that they could get answers to what happened to their dear loved ones that actually were forced away. So it was a really, of course, horrible episode, but at least some of them came back. I guess we could be happy about. But there was up to 500 to 800 people a day that first month, between the end of April and the end of May, that were processed through here. They actually would have a dinner here once a year, that they would invite some of these people back. When the hotel closed in 2010, they stopped doing those, and they've talked about getting those back again. And because it is such a piece, it's tied to the history of the hotel. Sadly, so many people during that period of time, fewer and fewer of those people are still alive today, which is very sad. But they do always put up, somebody comes around from the city, and you'll see those plaques all over the place in Paris. A lot of the times they do actually put up flowers, and usually it's around an anniversary that they put the flowers on there. So it's really neat. They will have little brass rings on it where they will put the bouquets. But yeah, the renovation lasted until 2018. Inside of it, it has a very, very fancy bar where you could get some drinks and a little bite to eat. It also has event spaces. I went there January of 2020 for a party that was there during Design Week, and my friend Rocky Lafleur invited me, a dear, wonderful man that I had met through Instagram. He ended up passing away very quickly from cancer right as I got sick. So next weekend, we are doing a special walk because his birthday would have been this coming Friday. So we're going to do a special walk just for him. So this door here on the left, Kate, is this stunning, stunning door. You can see, what's this street? We're on the Rue de Cherche Midi. Look at that door. Ugh. So gorgeous. This is actually the Hotel Marche, and it was built in 1738. Who wants to live there? Oh my gosh. Give it to me now. I just need to I don't know. When you're inside of it, I'm sure inside's just as spectacular as that door, I would hope. But it was built in 1738 by Mansart, of course, who is Mr. Roof guy here in Paris, the Mansart Roofs. It was built for Claude Bonneau, who was and it kept in his family of descendants. You always got to notice the door knockers. Sometimes, does that one work, Kate? Sometimes they don't work. We don't want to do it too loudly, but nope, doesn't pull. Sometimes they do actually pull. So maybe they attached it because they were tired of people banging on it. Oh, so gorgeous. It stayed in the family of members of the court of Louis XV. It is now the Andriveau Geological Archives. My French and my English sometimes want to mix. And it's one of the oldest genealogical groups in the world. So maybe I need to go in there and so they could do some research for me. I love this little street. There's a very special thing on this street that I'm sure hopefully most of you have been to. Can you guess what it is? Might have something to do with croissants. This little building over here, you see that bas relief there on the building. That is actually partly what gave this street its name. Rue de Cherche Midi means basically looking for noon. And this bas relief is a 1874 replica of the original that was here that dated back to 1675. It depicts an astronomer who is holding a tablet with a sundial, and then the small child is holding onto it. And it basically, the sundial is at just close to noon. So that's what it is, looking for noon. And so it was actually redone and replaced onto this building. I remember walking down this street many years ago. I think like one of my first or second trip, and seeing that and just seeing all these things on this one little street. It's just one of those streets where there's just so many things and different little historical markers. We're kind of going backwards, if you could tell by the numbers. We're coming up to number 14, which was the home of Félix Eugène Edmond Humboldt, who was an engineer of the Second Empire. Did we pass 14? So those another the streets, I'm sure you've noticed because I've pointed it out before. In the States, 19 is across from 20 or 18. Not in Paris, not always. Another fantastic door. Look at that gorgeous door. Felix was an engineer during the Second Empire, and he was director of the water department. There was quite a few different legendary people. Most people, we never would know a lot of these names. Looks like we're getting ready to put up some scaffolding. There's a lot of scaffolding up in France right now. It's just such a lovely little street. There's shops. There's a shoe shop at the end of this, which somebody actually sent me a message and commented on the amazing shoe shop that they have here. So maybe it's someplace you need to check out. Coming up here, this is one of the most wonderful places in Paris. This is the entire reason to come down to this area. If you needed one, this is it. So this is the Poi La Bakery. Oh, look, he's thought he was going there. Oh, maybe he needs to go back. Oh, I like that shirt. Oh, but I really wanted a croissant. This is one of the greatest bakeries that you could find in Paris. It is different from most bakeries, but they do have wonderful things like croissants. There's Kate in our window. Hi, Kate. So Poi La is amazing. I don't know, we can't really see inside of it, but they have, of course, they make these amazing loaves of bread that's miche sourdough. And then they also have a bunch of other goodies. They do have delicious croissants. Look at that cool handle. Poi La was started in 1932. There is the loaves with the big P on it. In 1932, Pierre Poilon opened this store, and this is his very first location. He made the miche sourdough loaves that lasted through World War II because it didn't use white flour. It used gray flour with spelt. And so he was able to keep making them throughout the war. His son Lionel took it over in 1970, adding other new staples to it, including the punition cookies, the punishment cookies. And if you go there, don't buy like the bag of those cookies. They are like little ones. The closest thing I could say is they're kind of like a shortbread cookie. They are delicious. And if you buy a tiny thing of them, you're going to want more. If you're going to be there for a while, get a huge bag. In 2002, Lionel and his wife tragically died in a helicopter crash off of Brittany, and their daughter, Apollonia, took over. She was just 18 years old. She was in the US, I believe it was at Harvard, going to school. She had to give up her studies and come back where she took over for her parents. She's still in charge of it. Last year or maybe right before the pandemic hit, she had published a cookbook, which is really great, which not only has the bread recipes and a bunch of other stuff, but has recipes to, to use the bread for. One of the coolest things that you could do, though, if you're not making it back and you're dying for some of that bread and you just want a little taste of something that's French, you could order that bread online and it could be at your doorstep. Dawn and Carol, for you on the West Coast, it could be on your doorstep in 4 days. A loaf of bread is about $40, 40 euros, $40. But it is well worth it. They are humongous, as you could see. You could order it sliced. So it comes in these thin slices. And as soon as it comes, you just break it apart and throw it in your freezer. So you have it for a long time. You also need those cookies. Again, buy those cookies. But it is amazing. You order the bread, you get messages that your bread's in the oven. You get messages that it's packed up. And it arrives in 4 days, and it is amazing. And I still have some in my freezer from quite a while ago. And then also my friend Roxanne, whose birthday is today, she got me some this year for my birthday, and it is still in my freezer. And every once in a while, I just break it out, and it's just a lovely little treat. We are now on the Place Michel Debré. And of course, that is where this amazing statue is by César. It is the Le Centaure. And you might have seen this. You might have seen a version of this if you walk through Montparnasse Cemetery. He created this between 1983 and 1985. It's kind of a random looking step that he is taking. The face of the centaur, because it is a mix of a human body and that of a horse, I guess it is. His face is a self-portrait, but the mask that's kind of up on top of his head is the face of Picasso. There's also up there kind of on his chest that we can't really see from down below, but there is a very small version of the Statue of Liberty up there as well. But there is a smaller version without this little Statue of Liberty on it on his tomb in Montparnasse, which is kind of cool. But this actual spot right here, the Place Michel Debré, was named after a politician and resistance fighter. There's a lot of places around here that are dedicated to resistance fighters of World War II, which is awesome. This is so cool. It's got quite the derriere on him, as my grandma would call it, a derriere. In 1750, another horrible occurrence happened here. It was a riot occurred because there was a mother whose children were taken. She had gone around, and the rumor was that everybody was saying that it was Louis XV that had these children kidnapped, these 3 children, and they were kidnapped so they could be sacrificed and their blood to be used for him to take a bath, which is a pretty horrific and crazy thought. That's not at all what had happened. But a riot broke out. This rumor was going around the city for days. And after about 5 days of this, this huge riot broke out here. When Louis XV heard about it, he was so upset and frustrated with it that he decided to have a road built that actually took him when he wanted to go to Saint-Denis from Versailles. It took him outside of the city so that he didn't have to pass through Paris, and he really showed them, which I'm not really sure if they really cared. But that building there that the centaur's toe is pointing to is one we're going to go see here in a minute too. It's another beautiful facade. We are very close. We're getting closer down to César. César is actually also the one is what they call what you would say, I guess, the French Oscars. There's also a giant thumb that he did that is out at La Défense. He wasn't very well loved at all at the time when he was alive, which was not that long ago. He didn't die that long ago. But they kind of refused, like the Pompadour wouldn't show exhibits of him until after he died. So he, oh no, hopefully we could see this next little lovely find. Yes, so right there, kind of over the door, this is a former bank, which now it looks like it's getting turned into something else. But over the door, there's this really cool tile work that was done by Italian Gian Domenico Facchini. And I love that there's an S and a G. This was a Society Generale, I think is the name of the bank that was here. And they have their initials there and those underneath at the top. This building itself was built in 1902 by Georges Balegui, and it was the Renaissance inspired. It's a gorgeous facade. So it's good to see something else is going in there. This bank only closed in the last year or two because it was here the last time I was there. But I love these tile works. There's 5 of them. They depict the 5 continents. They're very pretty. There's a lot of gold in them. They're really cool. So I'm sure they're going to save them. Is that a Spanish flag in the, who knows? Dawn, come on. I'm sure you're very good at the flags. We have another one of the Batard benches there. This area is usually very quiet on a Sunday morning. One time it was my last full day on a Sunday morning, and I walked all the way down to here. And I think that was the cafe. Is Dodd quickly Googling for us? I ended up sitting here at this little cafe because it was the only one that was open. This is a very, but yeah, look at how many gorgeous all these buildings are. There's an amazing door. This door right here, I just love this building. This building right here was built in 1911 by Charlet and Perrin, which is a name you will find on a lot of buildings. I always stop and anytime I see an architect on a building, I always stop and write them down because I'm a nerd. Okay, they're kind of creepy. Oh my goodness. That looks like one of those pictures of, the bad restorations that you see every once in a while. They're very...
That poor baby's face.
I know, they're so scary.
I think maybe the intern did that face.
I know, I think so. Like, yeah, first day on the job, we need you to carve a baby. That's hilarious. And we're coming up down here. I posted the other day in the Facebook event for people that you could study up before we got here. This is a wonderful little street. It is the Rue Juliette Recamier. I love this little dead end alley. Can you really call it a street if cars can't drive on it? I don't know. There's a street, I think it's in the 4th or 5th maybe, that's actually just they call it the shortest street in Paris, but it's actually a set of stairs. But look, you have all these lovely palm trees. It's quite tropical down here. But in 1907, this was the site of the Abbey au Bois, which is where Juliette Recamier lived. We did a podcast episode about her. It's going to be linked in the little sheet I have for everybody. But she was a very beautiful gal that was born in the 18th century. She lived into the 19th century. She ended up, if you listen to the episode, she was the one who married a gentleman that might have been her father. He was worried about the revolution, and he was worried that he was going to lose all his money. And so he married her. And so the thought was that he married her so he would make sure she would get his inheritance. They only had a paper relationship, we could say, not to keep it keep it from being gross. So she actually remained a virgin until quite a long time into her life, because thankfully she did. Okay, that's a little bit better of a face, much better. She would hold these salons that she would have. The abbey that was down here. The abbey that was down here was where she lived towards the end of her life. And she would hold these salons every day, and invite people over. Towards the end of her life, she was blind, but nobody really knew she was blind. She would have her apartment set up here at the abbey that was here, and she would have her maid that was with her kind of lay everything out so that she was able to get around places. But it was a really fascinating life, and she was very lovely. She's been depicted in art by Jacques-Louis David that is in the Louvre. And then there's been other paintings of her. She was upset with Jacques-Louis David because she thought he took too long to complete the painting. And so he got annoyed, and it was left unfinished, but you would never know it looking at the painting. It's a fantastic painting, and it's in the Louvre, of course. And it's not very far from David's painting of Napoleon's coronation. This little square back here used to be the square Juliette Racamier, but they stripped it of her name and named it the square Roger Stéphan. He was, they changed it in 2008. He was a resistance fighter in 1941. He created a newspaper called Combat, that was for the resistant fighters. So it was a very underground, secret paper. I love this little park. It's so cute, as you could tell, has all these cute little alleys. You could walk up through, very much of an English style garden, since it's kind of lush and crazy, I guess we could call it. It's a really pretty little place to come and sit in the afternoon. But this is where the abbey used to be. Roger was involved he was in journalism. He stayed in journalism his whole life until 1994, when he sadly was very ill. He ended up taking his life. And in 2008, they renamed this park for him. But it's a really pretty little park. You could walk around both sides. The abbey, of course, was torn down. But the abbey had part of it where it was basically where single women could live. Juliette and her husband / father remained married until his death. And then he lived very close by here in his final years as well, that she ended up paying for. When they were first married, he, of course, took care of everything. She held these salons in their apartment over in the 9th that were quite the affairs to be at. She was one of the first people to kind of wear the empire style and have the empire decoration. And at the time, Napoleon, of course, thought she was beautiful, and he wanted her to be one of the ladies in waiting to Josephine, and she said no. And he did not like that very much. And she eventually, at one point, actually exiled from France to save her own skin. She was very close with Madame de Staël, who will see something of hers coming up. And she was a very outspoken critic of Napoleon's. He at one point thought that Madame de Staël was fascinating, but then she actually did exile her. But it's this really lovely little street. You got palm trees and restaurants. Look at that beautiful lamppost. They don't skip the details. It's a lovely little street off of a very busy one. A lot of the buildings, as you could tell, down in this area are late 19th century, early 20th century. There is a Hermes store that's over here too, that during the pandemic, there it is, during the pandemic, my friend Landon was always posting pictures of the people lined up to get in there. And we still never figured out exactly. It was, almost everything was closed down, but the store still remained open for a period of time and people lined up every day to go in there.
Apparently Hermes was allowed to stay open because it's always been appointment only.
Oh,
So they already had all the COVID measures in place because they only allow like 2 customers in at a time.
oh,
Yeah. People needed their Birkin bags.
they did. They did. They needed their Birkin and their scarves,
Yeah.
that cost, $20,000.
Essentials only.
Essentials, yes. So now we're already back on the other side of Hotel Lutecia. And you can see there's a little cafe that's down there. It's such a gorgeous building. There's apparently in all of the rooms as well, they have Pendleton blankets, which are created here in Oregon. All of the rooms did have them. And so that's kind of cool. We are heading over now. We're going to walk through this beautiful garden up here. That is the this square Busico, which is dedicated to Marguerite and Aristide Busico, who are the ones that created the Bon Marche, which is just on the other side of this garden. Look at how beautiful that is. I'd take any of those balconies. I don't know about you guys. And there's this beautiful statue, this little monument that's here. This one is actually dedicated to Madame Busico and also Marguerite, or that's Marguerite, and then the Baroness Clara de Hirsch. It was by Paul Moreau Vautier. Madame Busico, she and her husband had the Bon Marche, but she also was dedicated to children and to families. They created, much like our gal that we did, Marie-Louise Jay of the Samaritain. We just did a podcast episode about her, but Marguerite also was dedicated to creating orphanages and hospitals and housing that she found very important, and for all these things for women and for children. And she's remembered here in the square, looking back towards the store that they created. Of course, there's always a lovely garbage can in perfect view. But it's this very lovely park. During the day, during lunchtime, it's always filled with workers from the store coming out to get a little bit of sunshine. It's a pretty good sized park over here too. Look at that, rays of sunshine. We're gonna escape any of the rain. Hopefully this stormy weather goes away so that there could be a little bit more. It looks like the next few days in Paris are just perfect. Just across from the park, there is a church hidden inside what looks like a very modern facade. From the 70s or 80s. Inside of it is the Église Saint Ignatius church. You would never know it except for there's a little sign kind of hanging up and above. When you go back, when I'm there, I'm going to go check it out again, because the last time I was there was a lot of scaffolding inside the church. It's basically right behind that very modern building right there. If you were walking on the street behind it, you could definitely clearly see that there was a church there, but from this side you do not. And basically straight ahead is where the entrance is. But I figured we would lose signal quickly if we went in there. But it is kind of a hidden church that many it does not have that grand, beautiful facade. I tried to actually find out why that they built this more modern building in front of it, but I couldn't find any information on it. So of course, here we have the Bon Marche. This was the very first store that opened was in 1838 by Paul and Justin Vidot. They were selling men's clothes and home goods. And then Aristide Boussicot was working here, decided to, he was asked to join them in the company, which he did. And then he and his wife, Marguerite, who also had worked here, ended up in 1852, ended up buying out the owners, or in 1863, they bought them out. It is the sales, as you can see, les sols. It is the sales that the government tells people when they could have sales, and it's in July and in January. But they ended up purchasing the other shares of the brothers because they had these very modern ideas at the time of what they wanted the store to become. And the brothers were pretty much against it. So they ended up actually purchasing, is that a backpack that looks like a lobster? It looks like it. And it probably cost thousands of dollars. But they ended up purchasing out their shares, and then had this store built as soon as they had it basically finished in 1870. They ended up they decided it was too small, and then had it expanded. A gentleman named Gustave Eiffel joined in and actually helped, added a few touches onto it, making the store even larger. Another gorgeous building. But it has stood, it's been quite the Parisian institution here for quite some time. And then straight across from here is a store that I try to stay away from. It says Au Bon Marche on top of it, but it is actually La Grande Épicerie. And in here, in this very large store, you could find a row of French butter, which really I could just stop there. That's all you need to, that's all that matters. But you could find, they have French cheese and wine and everything, rows of French salt and mustard, everything that you would ever want. For the expats in Paris that are, dreaming of the day they could have peanut butter, which seems to be the thing that they all want when they, because they just can't find the same kind of peanut butter. Oh, those are cool. You could find that stuff there. It's my friend Landon goes there, and she posts pictures of, they will have bottles of Hidden Valley Ranch, and it's like seven euros for, what, I don't even know how much that would be at the grocery stores here, for what, $1 or $2. But it is an amazing, amazing place. I walked through it once. I actually avoid going in there because I will find way too many things that I need and that I would pack back. But you should definitely go see it. I would actually, it's really cool to go to the Au Bon Marche. They have this, the escalators in the center of the store are wide open. And then it's constantly different artists do installations in there. So it's really cool to go in there because like right now they have, if you noticed in the windows, we saw those kind of great big, huge yellow suns. Yes, the Bordier butter is there. That's, I mean, really, that's the whole reason you have to go, is to get the Beurre Bordier. But it's really cool how they redo the center, add these different installations in there. It is, of course, owned by LVMH, who also owns Saint-Martin, who also is Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, that largest luxury brand. But it is very, very cool. There is also a Grande Épicerie on the right bank as well. But it's very cool. If you walk down this street, that's the street I've walked down. There's always the worker standing outside the door smoking, and look at that beautiful. I think that's, Kate, can we cross over there real quick? Isn't this the, I wonder if, yeah, this is the church where you could go. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. It is a very gorgeous church inside, and you could go in there and you get, they have, of course, a little store.
Is this the Miraculous Medal?
Yes,
church?
yes. The
With
miraculous.
the incorruptible body of the nun.
Yes.
Have you seen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have this nun, and I can't remember her name. Somebody, it's
I can't remember her name
it's
either.
totally slipping my mind, but she is in a glass case, and she has never decomposed. But she was actually, she had visions. The Virgin Mary would come to her in visions and basically tell her these things she needed to do. She told her to create this medal. So these little medallions that you could buy as just as a medal, as necklaces and stuff. And it was basically, you give this to somebody to cure them and to save them. I think this is the building here on the left with this gorgeous door. But if you go in there, it's like kind of sadly like going into a little shopping center, because they push you through, they kick you out of the church after like a few minutes. It's because there's so many people, like literally busloads of people come in. This amazing door right here is where Francois René de Chateaubriand lived, and a lot of people, that is not just a steak, a Chateaubriand. But this gorgeous door is where he lived in the final years of his life from 1838 to 1848. There's a little plaque of him right there. He was mostly known as he died on the 4th of July. He is mostly known for being the great romantic writer, kind of considered the first writer of the Romantic movement. But he actually had quite the political career before that. He served as an ambassador to different countries for France, including Kate's UK and also Sweden and the Holy See. And he was later a minister of finance. You have other gorgeous, all part of that same building over here. During the French Revolution, he left for the US, where he spent time in Boston and Philadelphia and New York and Lexington, and he ended up writing about it in his Journey to America. But he was actually very close friends with our Juliette Racamier. There's this little park that's right across from here that has a bust statue of him in the center of it, that's dedicated to Mr. Chateaubriand. It's a very beautiful, small little square that's right across the way. And he traveled quite a bit. The Orient, everywhere he traveled, inspired his writing. But he and Juliette may or may not have been lovers. And at the end of his life, he would basically never leave his house except for his once a day. From 4 to 5 p.m., he would go visit her down the street from where we were. And before anybody else came, he was getting quite feeble in his old age. And so he would, with the assistance of a helper, he would walk down there to visit her. They would have an hour together before other people arrived. And then she later had said that she could feel it when he died. She had this feeling that she knew he was gone, which is quite sad. But that little square back there, the Square des Missions Étrangères, was where a mission was actually built. Here's another gorgeous door. And gorgeous overhang there. No creepy babies, just the ferocious lions. On this street also, James Whistler lived. He had lived here at 110 Rue de Bac. We're on Rue de Bac right now. Patricia Wells, the American cookbook author, lives on this street. I remember when she was posting on Instagram how she was redoing her house. She lives on one of these places with a gorgeous courtyard. she does really great cooking classes down in the south of France, where she'll take you truffle hunting. My friend Debbie and Ron did that, which is really lovely. That door we walked by, that amazing door, was the Hotel de Séjour. There was a store here that I ended up seeing these shoes in the window that said, I can't remember, they had said like bonjour monsieur on the shoes, and I was like, oh, I need those shoes, and then I looked and they were like 400 euros. Oh, still not moving. It looks like it has a little a gooseneck on those. Or is that supposed to be a scary snake, serpent? It kind of has the face of a dolphin. There's a lot going on. And coming up here on the left is the former, it was a former cabaret. It was a Cabaret des Deux Anges, and you could see to above the door. There is a plaque here because this is where General Georges Caudouel stayed here in 1804 when he plotted to kill Napoleon. As you know, that clearly didn't work. You have two angels over the door, hearkening back to its old cabaret. They're probably more Victory because she's crowning. But there was a little cabaret here, an inn. Very cute. Oh, look at that blue sky. There's a pharmacy where maybe you could try to go there. It's closed today, but there's been quite a lot of talk because of everything going on with the health pass. We're going to head down that street, the Rue de Grenelle, past the pharmacy. This is the Rue de Grenelle. This is where you will find a fantastic museum. Dawn and Carol, this is where we met. This is where, is this the Rue de Grenelle? Oh, next one. You were on the right, you were going the right way, Kate. But the pharmacy, so for anybody that's going there and in the next few weeks, you have to have this app on your phone that shows that you have been vaccinated to get into, as of right now, museums and other large event spaces. And starting August 1st, next Sunday, into restaurants and cafes and everywhere else. Well, Americans that are going over there, none of us have QR codes. And even if we did, it wouldn't be recognized on their pass. So there's been a lot of confusion and a lot of people in a panic about getting this to work. Look at that gorgeous door. So it came out the other day by Paris by Mouth, found out that you could go to the Hotel de Ville, show your paperwork. They would end up converting it into a French QR code that you could use. Well, that was great Thursday and Friday. By Saturday, oh, look at those deliciousness. By Saturday, they were not doing that for anybody. They would just tell people, nope, send them away. So if you're going in the next few weeks, they will get this figured out and they'll figure out a way. Otherwise, you just show your paper pass to these places. And I haven't heard of anybody being turned away. Kate had an issue with, of course, last night with hers because they were trying to tell her that her number wasn't working and wanted to make her go pay for a test. So of course, like everything, it's kind of a mess, but they will get it figured out. But don't panic, don't cancel your trip. I had some people saying that they were going to cancel their trips, but they are taking their paper one. So just make sure you have it with you, take a picture of it and have it in your phone too. So this,
they like Americans more than Brits too.
Yeah, I know. So it's happening to everybody. The museum we just walked by was the Musée Milo. It was opened in 1995. It is this fantastic, is kind of a small museum. It mostly holds special exhibits. They do have some permanent stuff because it is all for the former artist, and it was his muse. It was Aristide Milo who ended up having this. Yes, we did get in trouble. Carol and Dawn, we did get in trouble. We got told to shush up. But it was actually opened by Dina Vernet, who was his muse and his model. She also modeled for Matisse and Raoul Dufy, who another person I'm kind of obsessed with. In 1964, she donated his collection of statues to the state. And those statues are the ones you see in the Tuileries, all those beautiful green statues of women throughout. There's over 20 of them. And then she ended up having this opened. It opened in 1995. This is also where Alfred de Musset lived, the writer, before he started up his affair with George Sand. And this is this amazing fountain that just sits off the street that probably few people know is here. It is so cool. Is the Fontaine des Quatre Saisons, the Fountain of the Four Seasons. This is a former site of a convent of the Les Rouclettes. This fountain was built by the city of Paris in 1739. Oh, look, it's actually even running down there. It was designed by Edmé Bouchardon, and it was finished in 1745. Look at that. It's already the little mascons actually have water coming out. It was built to give this area of the city water because at that time it was difficult. They were trying to get as much water into the city they could. Of course, Napoleon the First and Napoleon the Third did that as much as they could as well. In the very center of it is the allegory that is depicting this city of Paris. And then on either side of them, the allegories are the River Marne and the River Seine. This poor thing needs a little bit of cleaning, but not too much. Not like the Medici fountain. Look, it's just gorgeous. And then, of course, because it is the statue or the Fountain of the Four Seasons, going from left to right, you see the allegories of each of the seasons, starting on the left for the spring, then you have summer, and on the right is autumn and winter. And below it, there's bas-reliefs also for each season with the little the little children, Cupid-like. In the center, there is a plaque because this was built and dedicated to Louis the 15th. It was built under Louis the 16th. And it has a plaque up there where you see it says Louis the 15th. But it's a gorgeous fountain. It is really, really cool. You could go to that door there, and to the right, there is a little cafe there that's associated with the Musée Milo, which is really fun to go see. Yes, I met Dawn and Carol there. I was, I don't know if I mentioned this part of it, but it was in that room. It was the Naive exhibition with by Henri Rousseau and a bunch of other amazing painters. We could go into the Beau Passage and see. Hopefully we don't lose signal. It was the one where they had the art of some very close-up images of female anatomy, we call it. And I was trying to get a picture of the whole room. And then I saw this couple that kept looking at me, and I thought they must think I'm a complete weirdo because I'm taking his pictures. Think of the Origin of the World painting. It was pictures like that. And then all of a sudden they said, "Aren't you Claudine?" And then that's how I met Dawn and Carol. And it was very lovely. But at first I thought, Dawn and Carol, I thought you probably were looking at me like I was some kind of a freak. This is the Beau Passage. This was actually only open in the last few years. It's very lovely, has very fancy high-end stores in this little passage and restaurants. But it's very, it's really cool. Oh, you'll have to send me some of the pictures. Did you take pictures of me taking pictures of it? I was very happy to meet you. I do get more people will say, actually come up to me and say, "Are you Claudine Hemingway?" And then I will be, at first I'm always like, "Yeah, why?" But now I need to realize that it's because they've seen me online. But at first I'm just like, I am why, like, it just kind of like, I never know why somebody, but now I do. But this is really lovely. This is a lovely little passage. And it comes out on the other side. And in between this, we'll go back out, and we'll walk by and end up outside at the amazing fromagerie. But I think there's an exit right around here. Oh, yes. It's usually during lunchtime during the week. It's a very popular place. But yeah, it just opened in the last few years, like 2018, I want to say. 2018 or 2019. It wasn't open for very long before it was all shut down. We are on, and if we go left and back down Rue de Grenelle, we'll end up in front of a delicious fromagerie that if it was open today, Kate, you would be smelling it by now, because I've walked past here and you could actually smell the cheese from this store as when people open the door. It's pretty amazing. I'm sure it's all closed up today, sadly, so we can't peer into the window. Yes, this is it. I know it does not look very impressive at the moment, but this is one of the best fromageries in the entire city. So come over here and see this. I know it doesn't look that impressive at the moment, but the Barthélemy, it is absolutely fantastic, and they are lovely in there, and they will help you with anything you want. One of the things about the fromageries is they will actually, a lot of times they will ask you when you're going to enjoy the cheese. So they will actually ask you, is this for today? Is it for a few days? And they will give you the freshest cheese for whatever it is that you are looking for. Look at those lovely little tiles.
Ooh.
Can you smell it at all, even if it's all closed up, Kate?
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It is kind of funny. You really can. You could really smell it.
Strong camembert vibes over here.
Delicious. See, everything at this is on sale. There's also a Monoprix right over here that comes out onto that street, onto Rue de Grenelle. Rue de Grenelle goes all the way down through this area. The BNP Paris is always the bank I always look for, the ATM. Some of the Société Générale, the one that was in that, well, it used to be in that building with the beautiful tiles. I've sometimes had issues where it doesn't accept your American ATM card, which puts you in a panic until you find but I always try to stay with this one because I know it usually always works. And this is also a street where a lot of times they will do different little marches, and so a lot of times you'll come down the street and everything is closed off. We're down, if we go to the left, we're not very far from the Boulevard Saint-Germain. We'll be right on it, kind of there in no time. So to give you a frame of reference for where we are, and we are kind of on the border of Saint-Germain actually ends over there at where the Hotel Lutecia is. So we just started, so it's in between the 6th and the 7th. And that's straight in front of us. You could see, which we'll have to do another day. That's the St. Thomas d'Aquin Church, which is really lovely inside. It's in a really beautiful little courtyard. But Rue de Bac kind of crosses all the way down and around and kind of ends up over there. And so that's our beautiful area of Saint-Germain. And the 7th, of course. And look at that blue sky. We kept you dry, Kate. It did not.
We avoided the storm. Yeah, it was due to thunder like for 2 hours.
Yeah, it did say that as of yesterday. And yesterday you did get a lot of, it looked like there was even hail.
There was, yeah.
Yeah. very stormy. There's a Monoprix. I know everybody on here knows of Monoprix, the greatness of Monoprix. A lot of
This is
people.
a really good Monoprix.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the closest thing is everybody says it's like the French Target, but it's so much better. It's even better than that. There's great things in there. They even sometimes have some pretty cute clothes.
Oh, pajamas.
Oh, pajamas.
Like stock up.
Stock up on the pajamas.
Yeah. Like really nice linen ones and like cotton and.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've picked up like really cute jewelry and stuff in there, like costume, fun little earrings and things like that.
They have great designs.
Yeah. This is
and they always do really good collaborations with like Parisian brands as well.
Yeah.
Like at the moment they have the Maison Chateau Rouge, which is like the African designers.
Yeah, it's a really awesome store. I always go there my first day to get things like my French soap and things like that I want to have. And then they also have really great produce. Another good secret is they have this saucisson that's with truffle. It's saucisson truffe. And you could get this, you get it and it's like, €4 or something, just crazy ridiculous. And it's so, so good. I came back and I saw some in my grocery store and it was not the same brand, of course, or anything like it, but it was like $30 for what you could get in France for about €4. This is a Boulevard Saint-Germain, and right behind it is a wonderful cafe, the Cafe Saint-Germain, which is a great little terrace to sit on that I adore. Landon also loves that one too. So we will just leave you guys here. Yes, the washing, the cloth mitts, since as we've discussed before, they don't have washcloths anywhere in Europe. That's a great place to get those little mitts to replace your washcloth. I still don't really understand that they don't have washcloths, but maybe it's the whole no dryer thing. I don't know. So we'll go ahead and leave everybody today here on the wonderful Boulevard Saint-Germain. And hopefully next week you'll join us as we visit Saint-Sulpice, which we have gone before, but we just kind of basically walked in the door and walked out. So we'll go and explore a little bit more of that and some of the area around there that we haven't taken you to before. It might be maybe even the former home of Mr. Hemingway, and he and Pauline lived, and a bunch of the other wonderful places around there. So we hope to see you next week, and thank you guys all so much for joining us. There's that church, St. Thomas, and we will see you next Sunday. And thank you so much, Kate. And I'm glad you didn't get wet.
Oh, me too.
Or more importantly, lightning. That's what's
yeah.
We don't want you holding a metal phone and a gimbal in a lightning storm. But thank you guys so much. And Dawn and Carol, I'll anxiously await some of those photos. See, and we will see you guys all next Sunday, if not before. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Claudine.
Thanks, Kate.